The grand chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the doors swung open. Mark Wilson, the Earth ambassador, walked with steady steps toward the central podium. His simple blue uniform stood out among the ornate robes and biomechanical enhancements of the other species. "You are not scheduled to speak today, Human Wilson," said High Counselor Drent, his four eyes narrowing. "The Council recognizes 27 standard cycles of matters to discuss before human concerns." Mark smiled. It was not a warm smile. "I'm afraid this can't wait, High Counselor." His voice echoed through the chamber without the need for amplification. "I come bearing an official message from Earth Central Command." Whispers rippled through the assembly. Earth rarely communicated directly with the Council, usually working through lower diplomatic channels. "I am instructed to inform you that as of 800 Earth Standard Time, the United Earth Government has declared a state of war against the Galactic Confederation." For 3 heartbeats, the chamber remained completely silent. Then laughter erupted from several council members. The Verk representative slapped his scaled hand against the table, making a loud cracking sound. "The humans have finally lost their minds," shouted someone from the back. High Counselor Drent raised a hand for quiet. "Ambassador Wilson, surely this is a translation error. Your species has been part of the Confederation for less than 200 years. You possess no significant fleet, no advanced weapons systems, and your territory consists of Earth and a handful of struggling colony worlds." Mark remained perfectly still. "There is no error, High Counselor. Earth has given the Confederation 30 standard days to meet our demands. After that time, we will proceed with military action." The council chamber erupted again, this time in angry shouts and threats. "What demands could possibly warrant such madness?" asked Councillor Lom, the oldest member present. Her translucent skin pulsed with blue light, indicating confusion. Mark tapped his wrist device, and a hologram appeared above the central table. "Full documentation of illegal resource extraction on 3 human colony worlds by Confederation-registered corporations. Evidence of prohibited technology transfer to undermine Earth's development. And most seriously, documentation of human test subjects being used without consent for biological experiments." "These are serious accusations," Drent said carefully, "but they require investigation through proper channels. This declaration is unprecedented and inappropriate." Mark closed the hologram. "We've spent 40 years filing complaints through proper channels. We're done waiting. Earth demands full reparations for all stolen resources, formal recognition of our territorial claims in the Orion Spur, and immediate cessation of all unauthorized activities in human space." "Or what?" The question came from General Kiv, the Confederation's military commander. "Your species can barely manage interstellar flight. What exactly do you think will happen if we refuse?" Mark turned to face the general directly. "Admiral Bell sends her regards, General. She asked me to inform you that Earth Fleet is currently in position around this station. She's prepared a demonstration of our capabilities, should the Council require one." The chamber's external view screens activated automatically, showing a small contingent of Earth ships in formation. They looked primitive, all straight lines and visible propulsion systems, nothing like the elegant crafts of the advanced species. "Those toys," General Kiv laughed. "They wouldn't last 30 seconds against a proper battle group." "Perhaps," Mark said, "but Admiral Bell thought you might be curious about what's inside them." As if on cue, one of the Earth ships opened what appeared to be a cargo bay. Something small and dark emerged, moving toward the station at incredible speed. Alarms blared throughout the council chamber. "Unknown object approaching. Defensive systems not responding," shouted a technician. The dark object stopped just short of the station's shields, hovering in place. "That's a message from humanity," Mark said calmly. "We're no longer the primitive species you've been exploiting. You have 30 days to meet our demands. Choose wisely." He turned and walked out of the chamber, leaving stunned silence behind him. No one tried to stop him. Tom Gray moved through the dimly lit corridors of the station's lower levels. As a mid-ranking Confederation Council representative, he wasn't supposed to be here, especially not to meet with the human who had thrown the entire Galactic Council into chaos just hours ago. He found Mark Wilson sitting alone at a small table in an empty bar that catered to maintenance workers. The Earth ambassador looked up from his drink, unsurprised. "Representative Gray, I wondered who they would send." Tom slid into the seat across from him. "No one sent me. Officially, this meeting isn't happening." Mark smiled slightly. Then unofficially, "What can I do for you?" "You can explain why Earth just committed suicide." Tom leaned forward. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The Confederation fleet could reduce your homeworld to ash before your ultimatum expires." "They could try," Mark said calmly. He reached into his pocket and placed a small data cube on the table. "But before anyone makes rash decisions, you might want to look at this." Tom hesitated before picking up the cube. "What is it?" "The evidence we didn't show the full council. Records of Confederation mining operations on our colony worlds. Not just taking resources. They are using some kind of advanced technology that's causing planet-wide environmental collapse." The cube projected images above the table. Barren landscapes, dying forests, dry-up oceans. Data scrolled alongside showing atmospheric changes, radiation levels, and population displacement figures. This isn't authorized," Tom said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The Planetary Protection Treaty specifically forbids this kind of extraction. Tell that to the corporations operating under Confederation protection." Mark's voice hardened. 3 human colony worlds dying. Millions of people suffering. And every complaint we filed disappeared into your bureaucracy. Tom swiped through more images, his face growing pale. "These other files. What are they?" "Medical records. Humans disappearing from border worlds. Turning up years later with unexplained surgeries, implants, modified genetics, test subjects." "Who?" Tom demanded. "Who's responsible for this?" "That's the interesting part." Mark tapped the cube, bringing up corporate logos and government seals. "Some very powerful members of your council." A notification chimed on Tom's personal device. He checked it and looked up in surprise. "The Dorvan have called an emergency session. They're supporting Earth's claims?" Mark nodded. "The Dorvan see everything. They've been watching quietly for centuries. They know what's been happening. But the Dorvan never get involved in Confederation politics. They haven't made a public statement in over 50 years. Things change." Mark finished his drink. "And they're not the only ones. Check the feeds from the smaller worlds. The Tanari, the Vosh, the Rin colonies. They're all suddenly asking uncomfortable questions about resource rights and territorial sovereignty." Tom's device continued to chime with notifications. The political landscape was shifting by the minute. "This was your plan all along," he realized. "The war declaration was just to get everyone's attention." "Sometimes you need to shout to be heard," Mark said. "But make no mistake, we're prepared to fight if necessary." Admiral Bell wasn't bluffing about our capabilities. "How?" Tom asked. "How did Earth develop advanced technology without the Confederation noticing?" Mark's expression darkened. "When you're treated like children at the adults' table, you learn to keep secrets." A message flashed across Tom's device. "Emergency Counciled CSSION CALED. All representatives return at immediately." "Looks like you're needed back upstairs," Mark observed. Tom stood slowly. "This isn't over, Wilson." "No," Mark agreed. "It's just beginning. The Council has 29 days left to decide if they want to make things right or find out exactly what humanity is capable of when pushed too far." Tom hurried back toward the Council chambers, his mind racing. The Confederation had always viewed humans as simple newcomers to galactic politics, useful for labor and resources, but otherwise insignificant. Now, in the span of a single day, Earth had not only threatened the entire Confederation, but somehow managed to gain the support of the enigmatic Dorvan and stir dissent among a dozen minor species. For the first time in his diplomatic career, Tom felt afraid, not of Earth's small fleet, but of the possibility that the humans had been several steps ahead of the Confederation all along. 29 days had passed since Earth's declaration. Despite emergency sessions and heated debates, the Galactic Council had made little progress. Some members pushed for immediate military action against the humans, while others, influenced by the Dorvan's unexpected support for Earth, called for investigation of the accusations. Aboard the Earth flagship Defiant *, Admiral Jane Bell stood on the bridge, watching the countdown on the main screen. Her gray uniform was simple but immaculate, her posture straight despite the weight of command. 5 minutes until deadline. Admiral, reported her second-in-command, Captain Ryan. Bell nodded. All ships report status. All 27 vessels confirm ready for Operation Thunderclap. Strike teams are in position throughout the sectors. The communication officer turned in his seat. Admiral, incoming transmission from Galactic Council. On screen, Bell ordered. High Counselor Drent appeared, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly, a sign of stress in his species. Admiral Bell, the Council requests an extension of 12 standard days to fully consider Earth's demands. Bell's expression remained neutral. My government was clear, Counselor. 30 days. No extensions. This is madness, Drent hissed. You cannot possibly hope to. Our deadline has been known from the start, Bell interrupted. You chose to waste it on threats and political maneuvering instead of addressing our concerns. If you proceed with any hostile action, the full might of the Confederation fleet will. Bell cut the transmission with a gesture. They had their chance. She turned to her communications officer. Send the signal to all teams. Operation Thunderclap begins now. Throughout 3 sectors of Confederation space, small teams of humans who had been quietly positioned over the past several years received their orders. Some were disguised as maintenance workers, others as traders or diplomats. All moved with precise coordination toward their targets. The largest communication relay stations of the Confederation. Massive structures that managed faster-than-light communications across thousands of worlds, suddenly went dark, one after another. No explosions, no destruction, just complete shutdown as carefully planted devices activated simultaneously. On the Confederation capital world, General Kiv burst into the council chamber, interrupting an ongoing debate. We're under attack, he shouted. Communication relays in sectors 4, 7, and 9 are offline. Council members jumped to their feet in alarm. How many human ships? Demanded Drent. None, Kiv replied, confusion evident in his voice. The relay stations simply stopped. No damage, no weapons fire. They're completely disabled. That's impossible, said Counselor Lom. Those stations have redundant systems and security protocols. They cannot all fail simultaneously. At that moment, the main screens in the council chamber activated without command. Admiral Bell's face appeared on every display. Galactic Council, she said calmly. As you've now discovered, Earth has disabled your primary communication network across 3 sectors. This is not an act of destruction, but a demonstration of capability. How did you manage this? Drent demanded. Those systems are protected by our most advanced security. Perhaps not as advanced as you believed, Bell replied. Earth has not been idle during our years in the Confederation. While you underestimated us, we studied you carefully. The doors to the chamber opened, and Professor Lisa Reed entered. The small, unassuming human woman walked confidently to the center of the room. I believe I can explain what's happening, she said, addressing the stunned council. I'm the lead developer of Earth's quantum interface technology. She activated a small device on her wrist, and a holographic display appeared, showing technical schematics that made several council members gasp. For decades, you've restricted our technological development, keeping us dependent on Confederation systems, Lisa explained. But in secret, we developed our own technologies. The relay stations haven't been damaged. We've simply introduced a new communication protocol they can't process. This is impossible, one of the Confederation scientists protested. Your species doesn't have the knowledge for this level of quantum manipulation. Lisa smiled. That's what you were meant to believe. On the screens, Admiral Bell spoke again. The communication blackout will remain in effect until our demands are met. Your military fleets are now isolated, unable to coordinate. This is your final warning. The screens went dark, leaving the Council in stunned silence. General Kiv's communication device buzzed. He checked it and looked up, his face pale. Earth ships have been detected throughout our territory, he reported. They're moving at speeds our tracking systems can barely register. Panic spread through the chamber as the Council finally realized they had gravely underestimated humanity's capabilities and resolve. 20 years earlier, in a hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, General James Davis stood before a room of Earth's highest military and political leaders. The atmosphere was tense as he unveiled a plan that would change humanity's future. Operation Long Shadow, he said, pointing to a holographic map of the galaxy. While we smile and bow in the Confederation's chambers, we will quietly prepare for the day we must stand against them. Now, as Confederation leaders scrambled to respond to Earth's surprise attack, that long-ago meeting was bearing fruit. On a remote moon in the Arcturus system, a young lieutenant named Paul Miller received confirmation that communication relays were down. He turned to his team, who were disguised as civilian miners. Phase 2 begins now, he ordered. Activate the outpost. What had appeared to be a small mining operation suddenly transformed. Hidden panels slid away, revealing advanced weapon systems. A camouflage field dropped, exposing a fully operational military base. Similar scenes played out across Confederation space as dozens of concealed human outposts activated simultaneously. For years, the Confederation had seen humans building only what they were permitted to build, never suspecting what was happening in secret. Back in the Council chamber, intelligence reports flooded in, each more alarming than the last. Hidden bases in 17 systems. Unregistered human ships appearing throughout the trade routes. The mining colony on Nevis II is actually a weapons platform. General Kiv slammed his fist on the table. Impossible. Our surveillance would have detected this level of military buildup. Tom Gray, who had been quietly observing the chaos, finally spoke up. Not if we were looking for the wrong things. He activated a display showing historical footage of human ships and colonies. Look at their technology, simple designs, visible power systems, obvious fuel storage. He switched to current images captured of the newly revealed human capabilities. It was deliberate misdirection. While we watched them build primitive ships, they were developing completely different technologies in secret. But how? Demanded Counselor Lom. How could they hide this from our intelligence services? The doors opened again, and Mark Wilson entered with a Dorvan representative beside him. The Dorvan was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. Few in the room had ever seen one up close. Perhaps, said the Dorvan in a melodic voice, it is because you see only what confirms your beliefs. You decided humans were primitive, so you saw only primitive things. The Dorvan have been watching, Mark explained. They saw how the Confederation treated newcomer species, exploiting resources, restricting technology, creating dependency. They'd been waiting for someone to challenge the system. You're not alone in your grievances, the Dorvan continued. Many species have suffered under Confederation policies. As if to confirm these words, reports began arriving from across Confederation space. The Teneri had seized control of mining operations in their system. The Vosh had declared independence from Confederation oversight. The Rin were blocking trade routes through their territory. This isn't just about Earth, Mark said, looking around at the stunned council members. This is about a system that benefits the powerful few at the expense of many. We've simply been the first to say enough. High Counselor Drent looked from the reports to Mark, his composure finally breaking. You've been planning this for decades. Mark nodded. Earth learned patience from the oldest species in the galaxy. We watched, we waited, and we built alliances while you dismissed us as insignificant. General Kiv received another report and looked up in alarm. The Fifth Fleet has engaged human forces near the Epsilon station. He paused, reading further, his eyes widening. They're retreating. Our ships are retreating. Earth ships appear to have some kind of energy shield technology we've never seen before, a military analyst reported. Our weapons are ineffective. In the resulting silence, the Dorvan spoke again. For 1,000 years, the Confederation has claimed to bring peace and prosperity to the galaxy. Yet you've created a system where new species exist only to serve the old. Perhaps it is time for change. Mark stepped forward. We gave you 30 days to address our demands. Your time is up. Now you will deal with a new reality, one where humanity and our allies are no longer silent. The Council Chamber, once the proud center of galactic power, now felt small and vulnerable as the carefully constructed long game of humanity finally revealed itself. 3 days after Earth's stunning reveal of their hidden capabilities, the Confederation military launched what they called Operation Decisive Strike. 5 battle groups comprising the most powerful warships from the dominant species converged on key human positions. Aboard the Confederation flagship Invincible Asterisk, Fleet Commander Bear watched the tactical display with confidence. His vessel alone was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons developed over thousands of years. Enemy ships detected, reported his sensor officer. Human vessels are maintaining position. They appear to be waiting for us. Bar sneered. They may have surprised us with their hidden bases and communication disruption, but real combat is different. Begin the attack pattern. The Confederation ships moved into formation, energy weapons charging as they approached the much smaller human fleet. Sir, the weapons officer called out, our targeting systems are having difficulty locking onto their vessels. Manual targeting then, Bear ordered impatiently. The Invincible Asterisk fired its main weapon, a particle beam that could slice through a planet's crust. The beam shot toward the lead human ship, a vessel called Defiant Asterisk. Instead of the expected explosion, the beam hit an invisible barrier around the human ship, spreading out like water hitting glass before dissipating entirely. Impossible, Barr shouted. Fire all weapons. The entire Confederation fleet opened fire. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and gravity weapons converged on the human ships. None penetrated their defenses. Then the human vessels began to move. They accelerated with impossible speed, circling the much larger Confederation ships like wolves around prey. Small projectiles launched from the Earth vessels, attaching to the hulls of Bear's ships. What are they doing? Barr demanded. Report. Before his officers could answer, the ship's systems began shutting down. Lights flickered, weapons went offline, and engines failed. Some kind of targeted electromagnetic pulse, the chief engineer reported frantically. But it's not affecting life support or communication, just offensive systems. Similar reports came in from across the fleet. None of the ships were destroyed, but all were effectively neutralized. Admiral Bell's face appeared on their main screen. Confederation fleet, your vessels have been disabled but not harmed. We could have destroyed you, but that is not our goal. Return to your bases and inform your leaders that military action against Earth and our allies will not succeed. Back in the council chamber, news of the fleet's defeat caused an uproar. This is outrageous, shouted Councillor Vex of the Tauran Empire. We cannot allow these upstarts to humiliate us. Perhaps if we had investigated their claims instead of dismissing them, we wouldn't be in this position, countered Councillor Lom. The chamber, once unified in its governance of the galaxy, was now clearly divided. Some members called for all-out war against Earth, regardless of the cost. Others suggested negotiation and compromise. Council President Allen, who had remained silent through much of the crisis, finally spoke. The evidence provided by the humans regarding illegal resource extraction and experimentation appears to be genuine. Perhaps we should consider meeting their demands. Surrender. To humans, General Kiv was furious. They've tricked us, hidden their true capabilities, and now we're supposed to reward them. It's not about reward, Tom Gray interjected. It's about acknowledging wrongdoing and correcting our course. The debate grew more heated, with ancient alliances fracturing under the strain. Reports from across the Confederation showed the impact of the conflict spreading. Trade routes were disrupted, markets were in chaos, and civilian populations were beginning to question their leadership. On Earth, the United Earth government held an emergency session. Prime Minister Laura West addressed the planetary representatives. Phase 1 has succeeded beyond expectations, she reported. The Confederation's military response has been neutralized without casualties. Their leadership is divided. Now we move to Phase 2. And if they choose to escalate further? Asked a representative from the Mars colony. West's expression was grave. Then Admiral Bell will demonstrate why we named our flagship *Defiant*. The weapon system we've held in reserve will make today's victory look like a minor skirmish. Across the galaxy, billions watch their news feeds with a mixture of fear and hope. The established order of thousands of years was being challenged by what had been considered a minor species, and for many who had suffered under Confederation policies, the humans' stand offered something they hadn't felt in generations: the possibility of change. Kate Miller moved silently through the data archives of the Confederation's Central Repository. As an intelligence officer for Earth's Secret Service, she had spent years building her cover as a minor file clerk in this vast storehouse of information. Now, with the Confederation in chaos, security was focused elsewhere, giving her the opportunity she had waited for. "I'm in position," she whispered into her hidden communicator. "Beginning final data extraction." "Proceed," came the reply from General Davis. "You have 20 minutes before security protocols reset." Kate plugged a small device into the main console. It bypassed the security systems and began copying files that had been hidden from public access for centuries. Information that even most council members had never seen. As data streamed into her device, Kate's eyes widened. "Sir, you need to see this. It's worse than we thought." Across the galaxy, in a secure meeting room aboard the Defiant*, Mark Wilson faced a group of Confederation representatives who had broken ranks with the Council. Tom Gray was among them, looking troubled. "Your evidence about resource theft and illegal experimentation was compelling," Tom said. "But it doesn't explain the scale of your response. There's something more, isn't there?" Mark nodded slowly. "We've suspected for years that certain Confederation powers have been deliberately suppressing Earth's development. But we needed proof." The door opened, and a technician hurried in, handing Mark a datapad. He reviewed it quickly, his expression hardening. "It seems we now have that proof," he said, activating a display for all to see. "This comes directly from the Confederation's classified archives." The display showed meeting records from over a century ago, when humans first joined the galactic community. Senior council members from the dominant species discussed Earth in alarming terms. The human show concerning potential. Read one document. Their rate of technological advancement, even without access to our sciences, exceeds all projections. They must be contained. Another file outlined a deliberate strategy. Resource control is key. Establish regulations that appear fair, but specifically limit human access to critical materials. Guide their development into channels that keep them dependent on Confederation technology. The final document was the most damning. A formal agreement between 5 major council powers to ensure humans never gain true independence. Tom Gray stared at the evidence in shock. "I never knew. I've served the Council for 20 years, and I never knew this existed." "Few did," Mark explained. "It was hidden from most Council members. implemented through seemingly benign policies and regulations. At that moment, Admiral Bell entered the room, accompanied by a Dwarven elder. The ancient alien moved with graceful steps despite their apparent age. "The Dwarven have presented additional evidence to the full council," Bell announced. "They've been monitoring these activities for generations, gathering proof while waiting for the right moment to act." The Dwarven spoke in their melodic voice. "We have watched humanity since before your first steps into space. We saw in you something rare, a species that could break the cycle of domination that has defined this confederation for too long." "You knew what would happen?" Tom asked. "We saw potential futures," the Dwarven corrected. "In most, humanity remained controlled, your potential wasted. But in some, you discovered the truth and found the courage to challenge the order of millennia. We chose to wait, to observe which path you would take." Mark turned to address all the representatives present. "Earth never wanted war. Our strategy was calculated escalation, to force the truth into the open where it could no longer be denied. And if the Council still refuses to acknowledge it," asked one of the representatives. Admiral Bell stepped forward. "Then we demonstrate our final capability." She activated another display showing the small device. "This is what we call a dimensional anchor. It can temporarily disrupt the fabric of space-time in a localized area." The implications were clear to everyone present. Such technology could disable any ship, any station, any planet's defenses without destruction or casualties. "How did you develop this?" Tom asked, amazed. "This is beyond anything in Confederation science." "By thinking differently," Bell said simply. "While the Confederation built bigger weapons, we explored different dimensions of physics altogether. Your scientists dismissed our research as irrelevant theoretical work." Mark addressed the shocked representatives. "Return to the Council with what you've learned. Tell them Earth is prepared to demonstrate this technology if necessary, but we would prefer resolution through diplomatic means." As the representatives departed, Tom lingered behind. "You never planned to wage actual war, did you? This was all a carefully orchestrated show of force." Mark smiled thinly. "The best victory is the one where you never have to fire a shot. We learned that from your own military histories." "What happens now?" Tom asked. "Now," Mark said, "we reshape the galaxy into something better than it was, for everyone." 1 month after Earth's revelation shook the foundations of the Confederation, the Grand Council chamber looked very different. Representatives from species that had never before been granted a seat now sat alongside the traditional powers. The circular arrangement of the seats had replaced the old hierarchical design where dominant species sat elevated above others. High Councilor Drent stood at the center, his once proud posture now humble as he addressed the assembled representatives. "After reviewing all evidence and consulting with our respective governments, the Confederation formally accepts the terms presented by Earth." His voice carried through the chamber without its usual arrogance. "We acknowledge the wrongs committed against human colonies and citizens. Full reparations will be paid according to the schedule provided." Mark Wilson nodded from his seat. Earth no longer stood as a petitioner before the Council, but as an equal member with full recognition of its territories and sovereignty. "Furthermore," Drent continued, "the Council accepts responsibility for the policy of technological suppression that was secretly enacted against humanity and other developing species. This policy is hereby ended." On the screens around the chamber, celebrations erupted across dozens of worlds. Species that had lived under similar restrictions for generations saw a new future opening before them. Prime Minister Laura West, speaking from Earth, addressed the gathered representatives. "Today marks not an ending but a beginning. Earth did not challenge the Confederation to destroy it, but to transform it into something better for all species, not just a privileged few." She gestured to a document displayed before her. "The new Galactic Charter establishes equal rights for all member species, protection of developing worlds, and shared access to resources and technology. No longer will some rule while others serve." Tom Gray, newly appointed as the lead mediator between Earth and the Confederation, exchanged a look with Mark. Both men had been changed by the events of the past months. From adversaries, they had become unlikely allies in reshaping galactic politics. "I never thought I would see this day," Tom admitted quietly as the formal procedures continued. Centuries of tradition changed in a matter of weeks. "Sometimes the oldest structures are the most fragile," Mark replied. "They stand only because no one dares to push against them." The ceremony continued as representatives from the once marginalized species took turns signing the new charter. The Tanari, with their crystalline bodies; the Vosh, small but brilliant engineers; the Rin, whose empathic abilities had been feared and controlled. All now stood as equals. Admiral Bell, watching from the Defiant Asterisk, received a transmission from General Davis. "Phase 3 complete," he reported. "The Earth Rights Commission is being established on all major worlds. Teams are already documenting past abuses and ensuring they don't continue." "And our new defense network?" Bell asked. "Operational throughout human space," Davis confirmed. "But I don't think we'll need it. The old powers know they can't return to their former ways. The truth is out now, and too many are watching." On the newly recognized human colony world of Nova Terra, the first joint scientific facility opened its doors. Scientists from 20 species began work together without the artificial restrictions that had limited cooperation for centuries. Professor Lisa Reed, who had revealed Earth's hidden technology to the stunned council, now led the facility. "Today we begin true collaboration," she announced to her diverse team. "No more secrets, no more artificial limits on knowledge." Back in the council chamber, the ceremony concluded with the appointment of a new governing body, one with representatives from all species, regardless of how long they had been part of galactic society. "Earth achieved in months what diplomacy couldn't in decades," Tom remarked to Mark as they watched. "Because we were willing to risk everything," Mark said. "Sometimes you have to be ready for war to create lasting peace." As the formal session ended, the Dwarven elder approached them, his ancient eyes seeing far beyond the present moment. "You have changed the path of the galaxy," he said to Mark, "but this is just the beginning. Beyond our borders lie greater challenges that will require unity to face." "What kind of challenges?" Tom asked. The Dwarven's expression was solemn. "The kind that made us watch humanity so carefully. The kind we have feared for millennia. The reason we needed you to break the old order and forge something stronger." Mark and Tom exchanged glances, understanding that Earth's calculated war had achieved far more than justice for humanity. It had prepared the galaxy for something greater, and perhaps more terrible, that waited beyond the stars. "Then we'll face it together," Mark said simply. "As equals." The Dwarven nodded, satisfaction in his ancient eyes. "That is why we chose humanity to light the spark. Not because you were strongest, but because you understood that true strength comes from unity, not domination." As the representatives departed the chamber, a new era of galactic history began, one shaped not by the power of conquest, but by the courage to stand against injustice and the vision to build something better in its place.